At a busy intersection in the city, where there was the noise of vehicles and the bustle of people all day long, silence would descend at night. At two opposite corners of the same intersection, two beggars used to sit, Fikr and Kanat Ali. Both of them had the same life, old torn clothes, bare feet, and the daily earnings were just enough to eat one meal at night. But their thinking was completely different from each other. Fikr always lamented his situation. When a passerby passed by, he would look longingly at his shiny shoes, expensive watch, and comfortable life, and say with a burning heart, "Why didn't I get all this?"
Like, share, comment, and subscribe.
How lucky these people are, and how unlucky I am. His face always had traces of disappointment and envy, and when someone gave him something, he would grumble and take it, as if the person who gave him alms had not done him a favor, but rather wronged him. Kanat Ali's thinking was the opposite. He too was living a life of poverty and hunger, but his face always had a peaceful expression. Whoever gave him something, he would thank him from the bottom of his heart and say, "Thank God. You did not let me sleep hungry even today." His demeanor was so polite that people would be drawn to him and often gave him more charity. One day, a famous merchant of the city, who was known for his generosity, passed by this intersection. He used to see the two beggars every day, but today he decided to test them. Without saying anything, he threw a heavy bag between the two and moved forward. As soon as the bag fell to the ground, a glint of greed appeared in Fikr eyes. He quickly jumped up and grabbed the bag without thinking. Ali looked at the bag for a moment, but then bowed his head. He knew that if it had been his destiny, it would probably have come to him automatically. Fikr held the bag tightly and looked around, as if afraid that someone would snatch it away. Then he quickly got up and entered a dark alley. "Now my luck is going to change," he was rejoicing in his heart. But the haste of greed always pays off. He was running so fast that he could not see the potholes and stones on the road. Suddenly his foot hit an uneven stone, and he fell badly to the ground. The bag slipped from his hand and fell to the ground and opened. The coins scattered everywhere, and some even fell into the drain. Fikr was terrified. He tried to quickly collect the coins, but the alley was dark, and most of the coins had fallen into the mud. Fikr breathing had become irregular. He was trying to pick up coins from the mud in the darkness, but most of them had slipped out of his grasp. The coins that had fallen into the canal had disappeared into the deep water. His heart started beating loudly. What happened? Everything was in my hands, yet I was left empty-handed. At that moment, a rustling sound came from a corner of the street. He shivered. These were the drug addicts living in the deserted streets of the city, who went out every night in search of prey. A thin man, whose eyes had turned red, stepped forward and said, "What is happening here?" Fikr started to back away in fear, but their eyes had fallen on the coins scattered on the ground. "Oh, look, there is wealth scattered here," another man laughed. Before Fikr could say anything, two of the men pounced on him, pushed him back, and started picking up the coins that had fallen to the ground. He wanted to scream, but he knew that no one would hear him here. His hands were empty. Whatever he had come to, he had swallowed in a moment. On the other hand, Kanat Ali was sitting in his place, when suddenly the same merchant returned. He looked carefully at Kanat Ali's face and smiled and said, "Son, I gave you a bag a few moments ago, but you didn't even pick it up. Why?" Kanat Ali replied softly, "I have received what was my destiny. I have no desire to take someone else's." The merchant's face softened even more. He took out another bag from his pocket, but this time it seemed even heavier than the first one. He placed the bag in Kanat Ali's hand and said, "This is a reward for your honesty and patience." Tears welled up in Kanat Ali's eyes. He opened the bag and was surprised to see shiny gold coins and some diamonds inside, but he calmly closed the bag and thanked God. Fikr-Din was lying on the ground, and those drunk people were picking up the coins and laughing. There were tears in his eyes, but anger and helplessness were more. He panicked and picked up the stone lying on one side and shouted loudly, "These are my coins! Stay away!" But as soon as he picked up the stone, one of them, a tall man, stepped forward and snatched the stone from his hand and pushed it away with force. Fikr-Din hit the wall and fell down. Here is where strength reigns. There is no place for the weak. The tall man laughed and picked up the rest of the coins. Then they all left, and Fikr-Din was left alone, empty-handed, wounded, and broken inside. He was realizing his mistake. If I hadn't been greedy, maybe I would have something today. But there was no point in regretting it now. He lay on the ground, thinking for a while, then plucked up courage and walked towards the intersection, the same place where he used to sit every day. But his heart was sinking. I am returning empty-handed, and that other person, didn't he get anything too? On the other hand, Kanat Ali's luck had changed. He kept the bag and reached an old goldsmith in the city at dawn. As soon as the goldsmith opened the bag, he said in surprise, "These are very valuable coins and diamonds. Where did you get them?" Kanat Ali told the truth about the merchant, and the goldsmith smiled. "You got this wealth only because of your honesty." The goldsmith helped Kanat Ali and hired him to work in his shop. In a few days, Kanat Ali earned so much through hard work and honesty that he bought a small house for himself. He was no longer a beggar, but had become a hard-working man living with dignity. When Fikr-Din returned to the crossroads, he did not find Kanat Ali there. On asking people, it was found that Kanat Ali's luck had brightened, and he was now living a respectable life. Hearing this, tears welled up in Fikr-Din's eyes. "This is all my own fault. I lost everything in my greed." Fikr-Din was sitting on the ground looking at his hands, which were now empty. The fire of regret was burning in his heart. "I wish I had not been greedy. I wish I had also acted with patience and gratitude." But fate gave him another chance. Sitting at the crossroads, he thought that he could not spend his whole life in jealousy and disappointment. He got up and went straight to Kanat Ali, who was now working in a goldsmith's shop. As soon as Kanat Ali saw Fikr-Din, he smiled and said, "Are you still cursing fate, or do you intend to change?" Tears welled up in Fikr-Din's eyes. He bowed his head and said, "I want to change, but I don't know how." Kanat Ali took him by the hand and said, "The first step is that you want to change. Come, work with me and see how patience, honesty, and gratitude change lives." Fikr-Din took a deep breath, and for the first time, he wholeheartedly agreed with Kanat Ali. He had come to know that real wealth is peace of mind and honesty, not just the accumulation of wealth. Greed deprives a person, while patience and gratitude give him true happiness. Tell us in the comment box how you liked this story.